All right, this is Jessica Brashear, and this is Caring for the Heart. Seems so stiff. Okay, hi. Thank you so much for coming. I prayed for all of you last night that the Lord would bring who He wants in here to hear this message. This is something that I am very passionate about, and I don't normally sound like this. I will tell you, I do not have COVID. I have tested. I got my daughter's cold. I've been totally healthy for 18 months. And then my daughter got a cold last week, and I said, stay away from me. Don't even come close to me. And Satan was like hunting me down, and here we go. So my voice, he has saved, the Lord has saved for me. So this is something that I am very excited about, and you are all here for whatever reason, and I'm anxious to give you some information about what school counselors do and how they're important from my opinion in the Lutheran schools, and then give you an opportunity to ask questions. And Nick, I want to point out Nick Utek, he's a school counselor at a Lutheran school in Iowa. We got connected actually he reached out to me, kind of a cool story, and we have since launched a Facebook group for school counselors in Lutheran schools, and he's actually serving on the advisory committee for me at University of Concordia, Nebraska for our master's degree program. So I might have Nick be like, okay, what's it like at your school, because he's another expert in the field. All right, I wanted to ground us a little bit and start with Psalm 139, and I wasn't going to have the whole thing up here, but then I decided, no, you know what, I think we all need this as a reminder of what the Lord is saying to us and how special and loved we are. So I want to share this with you. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you. If you only, God, would slay the wicked, away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them as my enemies. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offense way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Search me, God, and know my heart. This really speaks to me because don't we just want to be known? I think that is one of the primal instincts. We want to be known. We want to be seen, heard, and loved. Our kids want that in their schools. We want that as adults in our interactions and in our relationships. And we have a God who knows us completely. And I think in the midst of crazy, hectic, busy lives, worries, stresses, and all the things, it's easy to forget that He knows. He's always one step ahead, and He knows exactly where we're going. And there's comfort in that. And that, to me, this speaks to me because this is a nice summary of what I try and do in my office and in the classroom, is make sure that the kids are seen, that they are known. I don't claim to know them the way that the Lord knows them, but I am His vessel and I am His servant, and I will show His love to them. And half the time, that's half the battle with kids. Kids just want to know that there's someone there for them. And I get to do that, and that's pretty special. A little bit about me. I don't even think I told you who I am. My name is Jessica Brashear, and I am the school counselor at St. John Lutheran School in Seward, Nebraska. We are a K-8 school with about 180 students. Hi, come on in, 180 students. I also serve our preschool, so that's an additional 40 kiddos that I see at the preschool, which is across the street. I am also the former director, it's crazy to say former, program director of the graduate master's degree in school counseling at Concordia in Nebraska. A little bit about my family. I've got 3 kids. This is my husband, Kurth. He's vice president for institutional advancement, so he likes to talk to our alum and just really promote the university. And then we've got 3 kids. Lily is an 8th grader. This is her last year with us in the building at St. John. She'll be a high schooler next year. And then Nolan is a 5th grader, and Grant is my youngest, and he's a 2nd grader. They keep me very busy. We have been in Seward for about 9 years. 9 years ago, the Lord called my husband out of law practice and into this totally unknown world of fundraising for the university. It was this crazy God thing, and we really felt called to Seward. So we moved there. And it had been about 4 years at that point since I had stepped away. I was a full-time high school counselor at a large public school in Omaha. We had about 2,200 students, and so I was one of 8 counselors on a counseling team there. My daughter was born, and at that time I was feeling called to be a stay-at-home mom. And we had the resources to do it, and so I chose to stay home, not knowing what that would mean for my career or how God would, turn that back around. And then we moved to Seward, and I'm like, well, there it goes. All chances, because Omaha was like, you can come back anytime. And I'm like, well, we're moving to small town Nebraska where either the school counselors have to die or retire. And that sounds really harsh, but that's true because there's not a lot. I mean, we're 7,000 people, right? I'm like, this is it. My career's over. No. God laughs at us. He said, no. So I got connected to the university. I taught a few undergraduate courses here and there. And then they approached me in 2018 and said, hey, we know you have a background in school counseling. We want to start a master's program. What do you think? I said, let's do it. So in 2018, we launched we started writing the program, getting it all accredited, did all of that, and we launched it in 2019. And we've had some graduates since then, and it is growing. It's a 100% online program. And I served as the program director for that. So I was doing both program director and part-time school counselor at St. John. And with 3 kids, 2 part-time jobs never is, So I did that for 3 years, and I said, okay, it's too much. My kids really need me right now because they're still little enough. So I have stepped away from that, but I am still teaching in the program and 100% advocating for these roles in our schools because I think that they are imperative. All right, so if you want to grab your phone, I didn't know how many people we were going to have. We're a small enough group, we could probably just do it, but it's kind of fun to use technology if it works. So if you just want to scan that, and then let's just take a poll. Who do we have here? And it doesn't show everybody, so let me see if I can get it to... There's more on there. There's one at the bottom that should say, I rock another job in our ministry. So if you don't see it, I don't know why it's not showing.
It's on the website.
Oh, good. Okay.
Do you only choose one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. Pops up.
Mine won't capture.
Okay.
You can only choose one.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us about yourself. You do. How? Yeah. Raise your hand if you wear more than one hat. Yes.
Our phones are quite smart.
Guess not.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. Some P5 teachers, DCE. Great.
Still working on it.
Okay.
But you know me anyway, so.
Yeah, Jerry's the deaconess at our church, so she and I work together closely on things. Very good. Okay, and so tell us about all the things you do.
Well, my background is psychology.
Awesome.
And I have been homeschooling my kids for 13 years, so I've gone from 0 to junior in high school. I'm
Wow.
a substitute teacher.
Great.
So I do everything the things we can do every grade.
Yes.
And I'm also on the board of directors of my church's school.
Fantastic. So everybody I know has thousands of things, right? We're all, and that's kind of how it works in ministry. You just do what do what needs to get done, and you do it with a smile and a servant heart. Most of the time, we try at least. Okay. Here are a couple goals for today. I want to talk with you just in general across the country of the concerning things with mental health that we are seeing. The St. John's why. Why did they implement a school counselor at our school, a little school of K-8 in rural Nebraska? I want to tell you about the comprehensive school counseling model. A lot of people, in fact, my van driver this morning, I got in and he was like, well, why do we need, he flat out said to me, why do we need school counselors? And I was like, oh, what a great opportunity. Let me tell you, let me count the ways. And he was probably sorry he asked at that point. I'm like, you should come to my presentation. But a lot of people don't know this. There's actually, we have a national organization. We have a national model. So we have, it's a whole comprehensive program that professional school counselors implement. It's not just sitting in our office twiddling our thumbs waiting for kids who are crying to come. That happens, not the twiddling our thumbs, but the crying kids. But it's comprehensive, and that's what I really want everybody to understand. How does it work, and what does it look like? Okay, so cause for concern. Half of mental health in the United States appears before the age of 14. So when you think in terms of prevention, that's most of us in this room and the kids that we teach, right? Or we serve. Half of them. 1 in 5 will have a mental disorder. And a lot of you probably are familiar with this stat. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds. There was a completed suicide by a 10-year-old in Omaha Public Schools just this year, and people were shocked. And I have a kiddo who's in kindergarten. There's a history of family depression, and there are already signs in kindergarten of this little one struggling with that. So it's like, how do we walk alongside these kids? How do we help educate parents and get them to the resources? Because early intervention is key. And I just wanted to share with you, this is just from the last school year. Again, in my 180 students, just in 1 year. I made a list of kind of the key things that I can remember that stood out to us. It was a crazy year for us at St. John last year. We lost a student in October. Well, it was COVID and all of that. But in October, we lost a 4th grader in a tragic hunting accident. He was killed. And we had several other deaths. This year already, a student lost his mom to COVID right before Christmas. And it just seems like every time you turn around, there's just a lot of hurting people. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of trauma, anxiety, depression, and it really is becoming a problem. I read this in an article a couple years ago, and it just shocked me. Oh, let me go back to this. I forgot one thing. Why do I have this mobile here? How many of you are familiar with family systems theory? Okay, good. Okay, so if you're not, family systems theory, if you're educators, you get it, and you know that it's sort of like a mobile. And when one thing in a family system, the system for the kid, shifts or alters or gets a little haywire, the whole mobile starts to shake, right? And what are the systems for our kids? It's their families. It's their sports teams. It's their school classroom. It's their churches. And all of these shifts impact how they're learning, how they're behaving, and how it has an impact just on how they do life. And so to look at it from a family systems model when we are trying to work with the whole development of the child is key. Okay, back to this amazing, shocking quote. So psychiatric patient in the early 50s, average teen today has the same level of anxiety. Let that sink in for a second. How many of you are seeing the anxiety spiking? And post-COVID, it's like exponential. Yes? Yes. Okay. Anxiety disorders are actually the most common mental health disorder among children and adolescents. Nearly 1 in 3 adolescents meets the diagnostic criterion for an anxiety disorder. The three most common anxiety disorders seen in schools are general anxiety disorder, specific phobias, and separation anxiety. If you're a kindergarten teacher, you know exactly what that is. That keeps happening though. I got a fourth grader who's got that right now, pretty bad. Anybody familiar with Lisa D'Amour? I follow her. This is a fantastic quote. I heard this on one of her podcasts, and I'm like, wow, I love that explanation. I teach this to my students. Everybody wants to talk about mental illness, but really what I want them to understand is mental health. We always want to look at it in a positive way. So we focus on the disorders or all of that. And there are those, and it's hard. But what do we do for our health, the health side, the emotional part, the whole child approach again? So mental health is the right feeling at the right time and the capacity to weather it. So I want you to just think for a minute about, that was my long list there of the concerns we were having in your life, in the kids in your school. What are they weathering right now? Hard things. And when I started putting together this presentation, it was before COVID. And then COVID hit and bam. It just blew up our world. Adults went crazy, so the kids go crazy. No one knows what's going on. When we live in fear, then that's traumatic, and we make crazy, rash decisions. We act in ways we wouldn't normally act. So mental health really is figuring out that we understand that feelings come and go. I teach that to the kids. Feelings come and go just like the weather, right? We might wake up. I had a little girl in my office, and she was very sad. And I said, you know what? You're sad right now. But just like this morning, it was raining outside, and then in the afternoon, the sun came out. That's normal. The feelings come and go. I also heard another explanation of a car, driving your car, and all those indicator lights that come on. The dashboard lights are indicator lights. That's like feelings. It tells us what's going on internally and what's going on around me. And it's not there to alarm, it's there to indicate and tell me, hey, there might be something I need to pay closer attention to. And that's the same with mental health. Anybody feeling like this? All right. So I think it was, we've always known that churches and schools are foundational to American life. Look at all of the things we do. And then COVID just emphasized that. Suddenly, teachers are, God's gift to creation, and we should pay them $1 million a year. And then bam, that kind of went, they lost that fanfare pretty quick. But people realized, hey, how are kids getting fed? Oh wait, the schools and the churches do that. Obviously, they know we're educating them. Child care. People were working from home and having to also school from home, and it was crazy and chaotic. And schools are the front lines to protect kids, the eyes and the ears paying attention to what's going on and who needs help or support. And then support for families. All right. 4 main points for our St. John's Why. Our principal was burdened. David, I'm going to pick on you because we were talking. You said that this was true for you at your school. What, me? Would you agree that you are experiencing an increased need of students and it's burdening you and your teaching staff?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was what was happening at St. John. Our principal was strapped. She was trying to wear all those different hats, and the increasing need of student social emotional, the needs that families were having. Teachers did not have time for it because they've got all this curriculum that they're mandated to get through. And so she has a heart, just a golden heart and a heart for people, and was doing too much and burning herself out. I was on the school board at the time, and I said to her, listen, I'm concerned about you. You're going down a dark path. And I think you need some additional help. And she said, come talk to the board about what school counselors do. I said, I think that's what we need. And I really was not petitioning myself for a job. but I said, I think that's really something we should look at. They all agreed, and they're like, okay, well, why don't you do it? I'm like, okay, I will. Thank you, Lord. He gives us opportunities, and I took it. National trends are showing increased depression and anxiety. We've talked about that even before COVID. So we've got the increased need. We're seeing it in our buildings. Trends are also following that and agreeing with that. At St. John, I'm sure similar to your schools and the places you serve, we are aiming to serve the whole child. So spiritual, emotional, physical, all of the needs are important. And we seek to be proactive instead of reactive. I don't know about you, but a lot of times in schools it feels like we're just running around putting fires out. And a comprehensive school counseling program is meant to be preventative and proactive, and there are some really great things that can come from that. Okay, if your technology doesn't work, let's just do this old school. We'll raise our hands. If you're willing. If you're not, if you're like, I don't want people to know what I say, then just throw it up there, okay? What are the biggest challenges that your school ministry is facing right now as it relates to social emotional health of your kids and families? What are some of the things you would say?
We have such an increased rate of co-parent relationships and children, living in multiple homes and managing all that stress, and
Yeah. That's a lot on kids. I'm going to talk more about that. What else?
Post-COVID helplessness. Kids don't seem to have the grit that they
Yeah.
willingness to take a risk because they're afraid of failure.
Yeah.
in our younger grades, I don't know, it's due to COVID or just the ability to relate socially, taking turns.
Everyone's shaking their hands.
When to tattle, when to, it's
Yes.
just some of those things that you learn that were taken away from us in COVID that you learned in a school study.
Yeah. Our kindergarten class last year, we all looked at each other like, what has happened? They missed their last bit of preschool, that crucial time. And so last year I ended up doing small groups. So we'll talk more about what I do, but we did some intentional small groups. Every single kindergartner was in a small group with me in my office, and we ran it for an entire quarter. Once a week, I did boys and girls. And so I had 6 girl groups and I think 4 boy groups. It was a large class. All on that, reinforcing these social behaviors because they weren't getting it. And there are first graders now, and we're learning some of it is just maybe this is a special class because self-regulation is still a struggle. So I'm working with them now. I've started introducing zones of regulation. Anybody familiar with zones? So we're working on that, and my teacher, Tasha Dekoff, first grade, is just awesome. And so we're just like, oh, here we go again. So-and-so's having a rough day. Nick.
For me, it's a lack of understanding from kids to parents to teachers. Like, parents and teachers understand it's an issue, and they understand that it's out there, but they don't know how to attack it.
Yeah.
And I'm only one person.
Yeah.
But that education, I feel like part of what you're doing here is we need to be training people in the ways to know how to handle it. We realize it's an issue and a problem, and now we need to decipher a plan of how to lift up leaders, even like lay leaders almost, in a way, for how to support this to give the kids what they need.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
I would say I'm starting to see in my community a lot of people trying to return to that normal, return to the busy schedules, return to this, return to that, that pre-COVID time, but we have post-COVID needs.
Yeah. Oh, well said.
And so that meltdown, that, I don't have the grit and perseverance, that I don't know how to get out there because I just can't. I can't get out of bed. I can't do this. That shutdown. And I think it's because we're trying to go back to that pre-COVID time
Yeah.
that we have post-COVID needs.
Yeah. And life has changed. Like
Yeah.
what we were experiencing is no longer, doesn't exist anymore. Very good. Okay. All right. So a couple quotes just from some of my teachers, they talk a lot about, striving to, like what we're saying, striving to adjust to the increasing social emotional needs of their kids, while you also still have to maintain a classroom. So sometimes there are immediate things that need to be addressed, and you just can't, because you've got all these students looking at you in the face. One-to-one care needed in the moment. How many of you had a school counselor in high school? Okay. How many of you, that school counselor, their main job was post-secondary planning, career, college? Okay. Shame, shame, shame. How many of you had a school counselor in elementary school? Yay. Sorry, kind of.
There's somebody after school like 3 days out of the week.
Okay. They were there. All right. So school counseling, and then it kind of launched, it was guidance counselors, and that term is really an outdated term. We are school counselors. Guidance counselors came out of the 1958 National Defense Act that was, Congress gave millions of dollars, and it was mostly it was all 100% teachers who then they said, we're going to make you guidance counselors. And their main job was to direct mostly male students into math and science for the space race, and then also for the Cold War. So that was tracking people in a certain direction, and that's where the term guidance counselor comes from. That is not what we do today. It has changed, morphed into something so much different than that. So it's so funny because in our profession, like guidance counselor, when people say that, I just smile. And somebody said that to me the other day, and my daughter goes, oh, because she, like, Mom, was that like nails on a chalkboard? I'm like, yeah, so we don't say that in front of them. Like, we have to educate them. They don't know what they don't know. So even my 13-year-old, she's like, guidance counselor. So school counselors, we are building better humans. I want to share with you this video. Keep in mind, this is a public school published thing, okay? And then we're going to talk about Jesus. But right now, I just want you to, this is a nice little overview of what school counseling looks like.